Dante Kakiokiwa Nuago Magantik Sikwanacha Sigasan. Thank you for joining me today. This is Spring Spirit Nation, and today we have Kelley Chinchilla. Kelley is a mixed martial arts athlete and a member of the Roseau River Anishinabe First Nation. Kelley was diagnosed with diabetes, and today she's here to share her empowering journey to mental wellness and healthy living amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. How are you, Kelley?
I'm all right. I'm on holidays now as of yesterday because I'm also a teacher. So we're on the winter break, the 2-week winter break. So pretty good, feeling pretty good today.
All right. You're from Roseau River. I know I went to residential school in Saskatchewan. I actually attended two. And at the one that's situated in Cowes, it was called Maryville. There were students from Roseau River there. So whereabouts on the map of Manitoba is Roseau River?
Rosau's like almost directly south of Winnipeg, about 45 minutes from the perimeter of Winnipeg. Yeah. So it's okay. Close to the U.S. border too. Yeah.
So if I have any long lost friends that haven't heard from me in a long time, hello, Roseau River people. I might have went to school with you. So we're just going to get right into it, Kelley. A fellow educator, so I'll be able to follow your conversation if that pops up with your with whatever it is you have to talk about today. So you're wanting to tell us about eating and living healthy.
Yeah. And the fitness part more so, and also the healthy eating, obviously that comes with, I was diagnosed with diabetes 4 years ago. Actually, it was November. So it's been just over like the 4-year and my diabetic anniversary. And yeah, so like the healthy eating, that's a huge part of my life. And also just the fitness thing, it's been like since I was a kid, I've been into sports and kind of an athlete growing up and stuff. And so that just carried over into my adult life, even when I became a mom. I was fairly young at 20 and I had my daughter, and then I was a single parent and all of that. So there's been struggles with having enough time to do the fitness thing and whatever, but now it's just like such a huge part of my life. And I got into martial arts just over 3 years ago, and now that's a huge part of my life, and I've been training a lot and trying to compete now and stuff like that. So it's been a journey, like since I've been a kid pretty much, with the sports and all that. So where should I start? Should I just talk about my...
Before we go, I want to get into the mixed martial arts and your athleticism and that dynamic. But first, you mentioned that you were diagnosed 4 years ago with diabetes. How were you before that? Like, were you tired? Like, what were the symptoms and what led up to that diagnosis?
So that year, like in 2016, or I'll just talk a little bit about my adult life before that. Like I said, I was into sports, and as a teenager, I grew up in the city. My parents, as we grew up, they were both my parents were together as we grew up, and they were both into sports, when they were younger, and they played baseball, and my dad played hockey and all kinds of other sports and stuff. So they were pretty active when we were growing up. And then they didn't have the most money though. We came from poverty, and my parents eventually, worked out of that. But so we had we were all active, me and my brothers. I was in basketball. I played volleyball in high school, pretty competitively too. I was like in the Team Manitoba for the NAG games and that. And and I just liked working out on my own, lifting weights, running, doing all that other maintenance stuff that helps with, any type of sport that you're into. And then, like I said, I had my daughter, and I was never, because people always ask me like about how was your diet before you even got diabetes, or like people who know me, they're like, you've been an athlete, like, pretty much your whole life, and, eating fairly healthy and stuff, minus, when you're a teenager, you think you can eat kind of whatever and
Yeah.
get away with it. You don't gain weight and all that stuff. But, you know, because when you're an athlete, you have to eat properly to be able to perform and stuff. So it was always kind of, you know, like a goal or a way of life, even as a teenager and then a young adult. So then I had my daughter when I was 20. But I maintained my weight. I never was like overweight or anything. Always. And then as I had my daughter, you know, I'm trying to bring her up eating the right foods and stuff like that as she's a baby. So I did that along with her. And then when in 2016, I was 27. In January, I remember going for a full physical, you know, the blood work where they just test your blood sugar and everything else just to make sure you're healthy. So that was completely normal in early 2016. And then I wasn't super heavy. I was around 140, between 140 and 150. Still active and whatever, but there was a period there in the spring where I was like really wanting to get like in really good shape. This was before I got into like martial arts and stuff, and wanting to get, you know, seeing people, fitness influencers online doing all these crazy things that they do. And I was like, I'm not super old or anything. Why can't I try to push myself and, you know, get back into like being competitive and whatever. So then I was like back into really lifting weights, trying to put on muscle and work out a lot throughout that whole spring and summer. And then I lost like almost 20 pounds during that time. But then I wasn't putting on muscle. I started feeling really thirsty. I had to go to the washroom a lot, just those classic symptoms. But because I had my physical in January, I didn't think anything of it, even though I kind of knew about diabetes and those are like some of the main symptoms. I didn't think anything of it. I was dancing powwow that summer quite a bit. Me and my daughter were going, you know, traveling on the powwow trail a little bit in Manitoba. I'm a fancy shawl dancer. I also dance jingle, but fancy's my main one. And then so I thought I was super, you know, I thought everything was all good. I thought I was getting really healthy because, you know, I got really lean and I was like 130 going under 130 pounds and getting really lean. But I guess part of that was because I was so dehydrated from untreated diabetes. And then I wasn't able to put on muscle, and I started eating more carbs because I read about that and trying to just eat more and, you know, to bulk up or whatever. And I wasn't putting on muscle. So I was thinking something's kind of wrong. Maybe my metabolism just super high or whatever. But then during the September, October that year was when I started really like, I was getting into big mood swings, like feeling really depressed out of nowhere. I've kind of struggled with depression and anxiety throughout the years, but this was like a lot worse. And then I kind of was thinking something seems pretty wrong. And then I also, and I had, that was the year I got my nose and my eyebrow pierced, and they kept getting infected, and I had to go on antibiotics a bunch of times to get rid of the infection too. So that's another symptom, is that your immune system isn't functioning as good when your blood sugar is too high consistently. So then in the fall was when I felt really sick, and I started feeling really irritable, almost having like crazy thoughts, and then like I couldn't focus on anything. I was still in school in my education courses, and like I couldn't even read like an article. Like I couldn't get through an article and see know what it was about, because my mind was just like, I don't know. I really thought for a time there, I thought maybe I had like something going on with my brain. So then that's when I went to the doctor to do the blood work and everything. And that was in the end of October, and the blood work came back. And then that's when I got diagnosed that my blood sugar was like extremely high, and I'm diabetic. So at some point, early 2016 is when it just started forming, and all throughout the spring, summer, it got worse because I was, I didn't know, and my blood sugar was just going higher and higher without being treated. So, yeah. And then, so when I got diagnosed, my blood sugar was in the 30s, like my blood sugar readings, and, the range is between 4 and 7. For diabetics, sometimes you're just trying to keep it under like 9 or 10 or whatever, consistently. But my blood sugar was in the 30s, and I felt really sluggish and stuff. And then my doctor said if I would have went on for another like couple of weeks, I probably would have got like ketoacidosis or whatever, that, the diabetic coma that happens sometimes when you're really high for too long. And then that's life-threatening. That's really dangerous. Your kidneys shut down and all that stuff. And yeah, so that's when I was diagnosed. And then from there, it was just like, that's when I really started to monitor what I was eating and stuff. And yeah.
So at the bottom, I have scrolling Kelley's empowering journey to mental wellness and healthy living. And throughout this whole show, for the people that are tuned into Spring Spirit Nation, that's what this show is about. People sharing empowering journeys. And Kelley is also a mixed martial arts athlete, despite all of this. Kelley, were you a martial arts athlete before the diagnosis, or is it something that you always, how does one get involved or to train for mixed martial arts?
Well, so then when I was diagnosed, like that first year, I was, because from being an athlete and from right away, I thought of the images of like, oh no, am I gonna lose my limbs, like my feet, all those complications you hear about for diabetics, and like how I'm thinking like, is my body just gonna deteriorate now in like 5 years or whatever? Like I didn't really know the course of like a diabetic's life and whatever. And I'm like, thinking, why me? I was really angry. I was like devastated there for a while. Because being so young, I was 27, and just being like, where did this come from? Like, why me and stuff? And I was really angry. I was really like emotional for like a good year. I felt that way. So that's when I kind of stopped dancing powwow. And, years before, I was going to ceremonies and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just, I was in a bad mental space there for a while. But I didn't stop working out like that. If anything, it pushed me to start working out more, and just keeping track of it better, and also just my eating. So I did bring my A1C down. So when I was diagnosed, it was at 15.8 or something, 15.8%. That's like super high. It's supposed to be supposed to be between 5 and 7 or whatever. So it was super high, but within like 3 months, I brought it down to like 5.8, which is like a normal reading. So, and then I was also put on insulin right away. And at the beginning there, my doctor actually diagnosed me as a bit of type 1 and a bit of type 2, which a lot of people wouldn't understand when I would tell them that. And I would kind of had the feeling they thought I didn't know what I was talking about. But that's what my endocrinologist said. He's like, because you're so young and you aren't making enough insulin. So like when they did that blood testing for that, I guess it's my pancreas isn't functioning properly and I'm not making enough insulin. So I do need to take insulin, but also I have type 2 insulin resistance. So that's a different thing where your body's, your cells just aren't using insulin properly. So you need like the metformin or whatever medications that help you with that. So yeah, I had that going on for a while. And my doctor couldn't give me like a formal diagnosis yet because he wanted to see what was happening with the insulin treatment and if I did need insulin and all that. And so yeah, I'm a type 2 diabetic, like insulin dependent. That's my diagnosis.
Wow.
So yeah, like with the martial arts, so about 7 or 8 months after that, it was in the spring, early summer. I had a friend that that trained at WAMA, Winnipeg Academy of MMA. It's a martial arts gym here in Winnipeg, and I think it's one of the only gyms that has like pro fighters or pro MMA fighters and amateur that actually get fights. They don't have MMA fights here in Winnipeg and in Manitoba. I think it's been banned or something. So our fighters have to go fight in like Alberta, Saskatchewan, or I don't know about Saskatchewan anymore, but Alberta and BC and other places in Canada. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so they're known as like the best MMA gym in Winnipeg, and it is a really awesome gym, and all the people there and stuff. So my friend was going there, and then he invited me there to just check it out. And at that time in the spring is when I was back on my big hardcore fitness, like, oh, I want to get back and into it again, like, and, you know, get all muscular and whatever else, you know. And so then I checked out that gym, and I went to, I think it was a kickboxing class that I first went to. And like the intensity and everything from that first class, I just took to it right away. I was, I just loved it, like how hard it was and pushing through that and stuff. And, you know, I was still pretty angry around that time about, you know, just being diabetic and whatever else, all my other stresses and struggles in life. So yeah, that's when I got into it. It was like the spring of 2017, early spring in the summer. Yeah. And then I got into jiu-jitsu from there because they have kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and then they have the MMA classes too. So I just went from one to another, and then I got into jiu-jitsu over that summer. And then in the spring of that or the fall of that year, it was like 2-3 months after I started training jiu-jitsu. One of the coach there, Curtis Brigham, he's the owner of the gym. He and a few other people there, some of the fighters are saying, oh, you should just compete, just try it, just see what happens and whatever, because I was super intense or whatever, and I just really like to scrap. And it's funny because when I first started too, a lot of them said, you're really scrappy. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I thought we're here to fight each other and stuff. But, you know, after a while, when you really get into the training, there's like, you kind of tone it down a bit, and you learn how to work on your technique. And it's not just about being all, you know, hardcore and trying to just fight as hard as you can. You have to improve your technique over time and all that stuff too. And obviously you get beat up from people who are better than you and whatever. And it's just, I just really love it. I got obsessed with the jiu-jitsu after a while. And then I competed that fall in the white belt category for women's for the Manitoba Open. And I got gold in my no-gi category that I did. Yeah, that was like 2 months after I started training in jiu-jitsu. And I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, that was when I was like hooked after that. I just wanted to keep training and see where it would go, especially because I could handle, like, you know, just being, you know, the roughness of it and the intensity of it and all that stuff. It's like when I started training, it's like, oh, I felt like I was made for this, you know, like life is hard. There's a struggle, and, you know, years of like struggling as a single parent and mentally anyway, like as a single parent going to school. I was working full time and going to school part time, and then plus all the other things going on. And I just really took to it and have been training ever since. And after a while, I got invited to the MMA classes too, to start learning, you know, MMA, because that's the mixed martial arts. It's where you're allowed to strike and grapple and all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm. So are there many other Indigenous people or Indigenous women at your club, or that you know of in the circuit?
At my gym, there's a few Native people that train there at my gym. There's some native women too that have, you know, they come and go, or sometimes they stay. A lot of people are kind of like that, you know, they come and check it out for a while, and for whatever reason, eventually you just don't see them come back for whatever reason. But yeah, there are people that do train at the gym and stuff too.
Okay,
native people.
cool.
Yeah.
So what do you see in your future in MMA?
Well, so I've been training like in the MMA classes for like 2.5 years now. And there was talk like since I had started training in that they wanted to get me a fight, and that I was, you know, getting ready for my first amateur fight. And ever since then I have been getting ready. So I broke my toe in kickboxing like 2 summers ago or whatever. And then that kind of held me back for a couple of months, because I had to, like, I was trying to train and I had to wear like the wrestling shoes to protect my toe, and I kept like re-injuring it, because that's another thing. I tried, oh, hold on, I'm just reading that. I'm getting distracted here, but I wanted to keep training, and that's one of the problems I have too, is like it's hard to stay away, you know, once you get an injury. You have to rehab it and stuff, and take the time off to let it heal and stuff, and that's one of my issues that I'm trying to get better with, because I went right away like trying to train with my broken toe, and then I kept re-breaking it training, and it took longer to heal.
I know what that feels like. Yeah.
And then yeah, so then
we
I
have a question. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just ramble on. My first fight would have been this May, but it was canceled because of COVID. I had an actual opponent. I had an actual match. It was going to be in Lethbridge, Alberta. Had the contract and stuff. My contract's still sitting right here. Yeah, and I actually, it's like this one finally was going to work out. They found an opponent, and we're like on the card and everything. It was pretty exciting, you know, to see my name on that card with my opponent there, and like, yeah, it's really happening at 125. That's my weight. And it got canceled because of COVID, obviously.
Wow. So we have a question here from Nehio Pikikut. Before I go any further, welcome Nehio, and thank you for commenting. He is owner of the Nehio Hustle Clothing, and yeah, great work out there, Nehio. So Nehio Pikikut asks, how is training during COVID? Rules and regulations, does it limit your training?
Yeah, right now we're in code red here in Winnipeg. And the gyms have been closed since the beginning. I actually got my blue belt in jiu-jitsu March, and it was the week before the gym had to get closed down. So I got my blue belt, and then I couldn't even train with that. So it's been the gym has been closed since then. Yeah. So it's been almost a year now, like 9-10 months since the gym has been closed. So I have a gym in my basement. I actually, I'll see if I got my emails. I could show you pictures on here, but I have a gym in my basement. So Curtis, he lent me and my partner the wrestling mats. So we set up the wrestling mats in the basement, and plus I have like a really big space down there, and I have like three bags or whatever, punching bags, and then a space for like kickboxing. And I have like before I even started training in the martial arts, I like would work out at home, and I had a little space set up with my own stuff and weights and a bike and all that stuff. But since like the COVID thing happened, like my boyfriend moved in, we shacked up, and then and he was a MMA pro. So we train together now in my basement, and that's a huge, like a really big, like I'm really grateful for that. I get to continue training and improving, and like he's a pro fighter and like has all this kickboxing and jiu-jitsu and everything else, MMA fighting experience, and just we're working on all the things that I still need to work on before I have my first fight. But like I feel ready. I've been ready for like over a year now. It's just like all these small little things just keep improving, and it's like I still haven't had my first match. Hold on, my cat.
So she's Do you have a cat?
Yeah, I just let her out of the room.
Yeah, my cat's the same way. So, just putting this out there, Nehio Hustle Clothing is a new line or a new company that started within the year. They probably been going on longer than that, but just a suggestion and a recommendation for Nehio Hustle Clothing is I think it would be kind of cool if they expanded and went into Manitoba, into the other tribal territories and in the all of the land, and created a Anishinabe hustle clothing. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be.
If you did, if there was one out there, would you wear it during training and things like that?
Do they make
Cool.
like they make athletic type of clothing? Yeah, and like rash guards for like jujitsu, grappling and stuff. Yeah, I definitely.
I think that'd be pretty cool. So we have a question here from a Kimowa and a Henniku. If you could fight anyone in the world, who would you fight?
I'd fight my opponent that I'm supposed to fight. It's whoever. The way it works is like, because I'm starting at the amateur level. I'm not a pro fighter. I don't have like pro boxing or like pro kickboxing experience or whatever. I am like a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, which helps a lot, and that helps a lot with the grappling for the MMA. But like I haven't had any fight experience. I haven't had a fight. So it's for me to name someone like some top pro MMA fighter in my weight class. It's kind of like, well, I don't even know how I'm going to do in my first match in an amateur fight, right? Like the hardest part is like, for me, I think is going to just be the anxiety and getting rid of those like jitters that come. Because I've competed in jiu-jitsu at tournaments and stuff. And, you don't some people don't perform as they do just, in the gym during like sparring time or whatever. It's a lot different when there's like a crowd and people watching and it's like, oh, this is the, kind of like the real deal or whatever. So I don't know. I wouldn't really call anyone out to fight. It's just more like who my coach matches me up with, who the promoters kind of pair you up with, kind of, because how they do it is they give you an opponent that's close to your ranking, your level. And like I have zero fight experience. The opponent that I was supposed to fight, I think her name was Belle, some French name. She didn't have any fights either, I think. So that's kind of how the matchups go. They try to match you up with someone who doesn't have experience either, because it wouldn't make sense for me to fight someone who has like 5 wins and 1 loss or no losses, and I don't have any fights at all. I mean, if they did set me up with that, I mean, I'd be down to just go in there and fight anyway. But yeah, that's kind of how that works.
So I had a guest here earlier when Spring Spirit Nation first started. His name is Stuart Fontaine, and he's an MMA trainer in the Meadow Lake area in Saskatchewan. And he has fight experience. And I asked him what his song was, when you walk into the ring.
The walkout song?
Yeah. His was Moni Moni. What is yours?
Oh man, that changes all the time. There was like a phase when I was training. Oh yeah, so like I was supposed to get the fight in May 2nd and they had the contract ready in like February, I think I got it. And this was before we knew that gyms were going to shut down because of COVID. And like, so there was still talk like, yeah, this card's going to happen and whatever. So I was kind of getting ready in that mentality. And then that I started like training for a little bit, and then thinking about what my song would be and all that. There's like too many to name. I have like my playlist I work out with. And there was that one song, Way Down We Go, from was it Kelley? Or I forget what the band is, but yeah, there was that song I had like on repeat for a while. That's like a slower, like not super upbeat or anything, but it was like a slower, just like chill song. But I like the lyrics in it and stuff. And then I told my best friend that one, and then she's like, why would you have that? That's like so slow. And and whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, it's whatever gets it does it to in the end. It's like, it's not the song that's gonna help me win my fight. Like, it's the song's gonna be out of your mind as soon as that, the fight begins. You're competing, you can't even hear shit, and the only thing on your mind is like, what you're gonna do and how you react to what they're doing. Yeah.
Cool. So listeners and viewers out there, if you have any song suggestions, in the future, if you're watching this podcast, feel free to type them here. My personal, if I were a fighter, if I was a little scrappy, I think I would probably come in with the song Diamond Eyes. Diamond Eyes. And right now, like, I just love the band. I can't even think of their name right now.
Diamond Eyes?
Yeah. It goes like boomlay, boomlay. It's a cool song. I'll have to send you the link. So
there
Kelley,
like phases, oh sorry. And then there were phases I was like, there's like some gangster rap, and then my latest one is Natural Born Killer from Ice Cube. It's like, I should walk out to this song because like my last name rhymes with Killa, Chinchilla, and that's my real last name, by the way. But yeah.
Okay.
That gets me going, but anyway.
Oh, here's the cool one. This is my band, Volbeat. Yeah, Diamond Eyes. And it's recommended to listen to Warrior's Call by Volbeat. I love Volbeat. I'm like Team Volbeat. Sorry, Volbeat, I couldn't remember your name 2 minutes ago. Oh,
there's my mom.
Like to say hello to Kimmy, Anine.
Spelled it wrong, Mom. It's ANIIN. Or it's AANIIN. Anyway.
So Kimmy, hang in there with us. Like and share this podcast if you're enjoying it, and if you feel that it's informative for somebody in your family member or in your bubble, in your circle. So now we're getting into sequence 7. Sequence 7 is just telling you. I ask you a question, and whatever pops into mind is what you answer. Okay. Some people like to kind of elaborate on the answer. If you feel that you need to, then feel free. But here are the sequence 7. What is your favorite Anishinabe word?
My favorite Anishinabe word, Songete. It means like courage or bravery. Yeah.
Cool. What is your favorite animal?
A lot of different animals. I really like dolphins. I really liked dolphins when I was a kid, and yeah. Otters too.
Nice.
If it was between the two, I'd say otters, actually. Nikik, yeah.
Nikik.
Otter. Yeah.
In Cree territory, we say Nigik too. Who was your favorite teacher?
Like when I was, could I include like with my training and stuff, or is it like in school?
It's wide open. It's wide open.
I had a really good, when I was in high school, Miss Sinclair, I remember her, and Miss Carpick. They were female English teachers. I really liked them. Had a good relationship with Miss Sinclair. I went to Sisler High School here in Winnipeg. Also, when I was in my university courses, a lot of my instructors were Indigenous, and I really, the women that taught those courses were really empowering. They were really, I really just admired them. So I'd name probably Karen Froman, my history teacher. She's Indigenous. I think she's Mohawk. Yeah. And then also Leah Gazan. Do you know who Leah?
Oh, yes. Yes, yeah. I'm team Leah. I love her.
She taught a few of our courses too in our education program too. Her too, and yeah, there's a few others. Also, I would say like I learned from just Indigenous women in the community. in my school that I teach at is a bilingual school. There's a regular English program, and then we have the Ojibwe bilingual program. So I teach in the Ojibwe bilingual program for grade 3. But our vice principal in the school, Jennifer Lamoureux, she's a really awesome leader, and we have like our team teacher leader of the school division, also Sherry Dennischuk. Well, actually, Jennifer is taking over that role now. So yeah, they're people that I admire for their leadership, and especially like the Indigenous female leadership roles.
So you might have answered my next question of the sequence 7. The next one is, who is your most admirable Indigenous leader?
There's like I was saying, there's a few people to name, just people that I even know in the community, like and then there's my mom and my mom's best friend, Bernadette Smith. She was in the same program as my mom, and they graduated from KTEP. They were the first cohort. They graduated together, and they're best friends, and they both got jobs in the school division I teach in now. And then Bernie went on to get into, she's our Point Douglas MLA here in Winnipeg. And yeah, she does a lot of advocating for, missing and murdered Indigenous women, the Drag the Red, and the No Stone Unturned concert. She started that years ago, and just bringing more awareness to that. So there's a lot of people, and like those, my mentors that I've named, and the teachers that I've had over the years.
Mm-hmm. Right. I follow, I actually follow Bernadette in a lot of the things that she does, and is very admirable. And your mom is a pretty great person too. Tell your mom I told her to keep being deadly.
I can just hear her big laugh right now. I was just gonna say that this question reminds me of Smoke Signals, when he's like, "Who's your favorite Indian?" Do you remember that part?
Yeah. Okay, so what is your favorite type of music?
I like a lot of different things. It just depends on my mood that I'm in and what kind of training I'm doing. Because I do other things too, other than the martial arts. I do like I got into like the hand balancing. Like I was training with like the Winnipeg Prairie Circus a little bit, learning some of that stuff like hand balancing. They do a bit of yoga. It's like gymnastics, flexibility. So it depends kind of what I'm doing. Like I sometimes get in like just the gangster rap mode, and like that hardcore or whatever, and then sometimes I get into just rock, some of those old classic songs. But I definitely wouldn't really train to like AC/DC. Like my dad used to work out and lift weights to like AC/DC and stuff back in the 90s, and I don't know, that doesn't really get me going. But like I listen to that like outside of training and whatever. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is like newer country. I just can't, but I like the old, like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and all the outlaw country stuff. That stuff reminds me of, just family and whatever else, but not the newer country stuff. And then I get into, I never used to like electro and techno kind of stuff, but ever since I started training, I kind of got into that too. I listen to that, and like A Tribe Called Red, and all that. So just depends on my mood.
Sorry. Question number 6. We know you're a teacher. What profession other than your own would you like to attend?
If I could do something else other than teaching. Actually, I before I had my daughter, I went to the U of M for a year. I ended up dropping out after that year when I was 18, but I really wanted to I was studying food science and nutrition. So I actually really wanted to become a dietitian, and also study like diabetes and in the Native community, and kind of be an advocate for that. that type of stuff. And I just thought it was really ironic that I became diabetic myself at like age 27. Yeah, but that was like a passion for a long time, and that's kind of what I go off of too when people ask kind of like how I used to eat before I became diabetic and stuff. And it's like, well, this was like a really big interest in me, and I used to think about how our ancestors used to eat, and even try to follow that diet as much as I could and whatever, and just trying to eat healthy and pure and natural and whatever else. And that was a big interest. So I was thinking recently and talking recently about possibly going back to school to, study food science and nutrition, and getting into that. And, because I'm an educator now, it's possible I could in the future learn to do that, like teach about diabetes and, food and nutrition and all that stuff too.
Sounds wonderful. I would absolutely read a book by Anishinabe Ikwe from Manitoba, from Roseau River, about this very topic. If you're ever interested in writing something about that, I would buy your book. Your final question of the sequence 7: what profession would you not like to participate in?
Probably like politics. Like, I don't know, like it's funny that politics is like, a lot of them don't have to, they're really out of touch with oh, you didn't want to talk about politics. But they're really like out of touch sometimes. Yeah, it just goes there anyway. But I'll just leave it at that. Like getting into like politics, even some type of leadership thing. Like people look to me as a leader sometimes and a mentor and all that. But I'm like, the biggest thing for me is like being able to walk that, consistently and stuff, and like just walk the walk, and before being one to like preach and all that stuff. So I feel like now, with like the diabetic stuff, and it's been 4 years and whatever, like I have researched it a lot too ever since becoming diabetic. And I do live the lifestyle that they tell you to live. Even non-diabetics, doctors recommend the way to eat, like you need exercise. And did she just call herself a cougar? My mom.
Let's see the next comment. Thanks, just deadly. Give me James. I think you're deadly.
Oh, she called you a cougar.
I
there might be a cure for diabetes. Just read something about it on CTV News. I saw somebody was sending me. Actually, my dad sent me that article. They're studying in Alberta, I think. They did find, like in lab rats or something, they're trying to like heal the pancreas, or I can't remember what it is, like for diabetes. I think it was for type 1 diabetes though. Yeah. I someone sent me that article too. There are people who do get, cured from diabetes. They reverse it, or they prevent it, they're pre-diabetic and whatever. So far nothing. I haven't been able to do that. Like I've tried to, I monitor my carbs that I eat. I don't eat a lot of carbs. I eat like less than half the amount of carbs that the average person eats. And, it's just, I need insulin. It's because my pancreas just doesn't, for whatever reason, it's not functioning properly, and I'm not making enough insulin. So I need to take it for when I eat carbs and stuff. That's just, that's a thing. That's one of the reasons I was super depressed for like a year, up to a year and a half after I was diagnosed, is like, how come I'm so fit, and like I eat properly, I eat like low carb and stuff, and like I can't get off the meds, the insulin. So like I've accepted it now. There's my doctor explained, like sometimes it just happens to some people, like no matter what you do, you just you can't reverse it or whatever. I'm just one of those people with that luck, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. but I do encourage other diabetics and stuff, to do what they can. You can still manage your blood sugar. You can keep it in like the healthy range anyway. Like if you just manage your sugar, like you won't get the complications that come with high blood sugar, like you can still manage your blood sugar as a diabetic. It's just obviously harder to maintain that, but not impossible.
All right. Sorry, Kelley, I'm back in the stream, but I'm going to let you have a moment to encourage people to maintain mental wellness, healthy living in this very unprecedented time of the COVID pandemic. Okay, and then I'll have you sign off.
Okay.
Thank you for joining me today.
All right. I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying here. Talking about during COVID times, exercising during COVID times. I was just thinking before doing this about people who live on reserves, especially like isolated reserves, places where access to like just running water and things are an issue. So I can't speak to that because I don't know what that's like. I don't live on the reserve, on a reserve like that. And I live in the city. So for me, I just try to, my main thing is that it's good for my health. I have anxiety, depression. A lot of people are struggling with mental things like this. And for me, when I exercise and stuff like that, that really helps. That really helps relieve that stress. I have this one quote that I really like, and I share with people sometimes. It goes, "You may regret skipping the workout, but you'll never regret doing the workout." And I really like that quote because like sometimes you're tired. Like everybody has their reasons why they don't want to work out. You worked all day and you're tired. You didn't get enough sleep the night before. Maybe you ate wrong. You ate some junk and you feel like it's going to affect your workout or whatever it is, or something is sore. But everybody has those reasons and excuses and whatever, like myself too. I make them too. But you regret skipping that workout. But if you do that workout, I mean, you don't regret it afterwards, right? You get endorphins from exercise. It's good for you. So that's one of the main quotes I like to go by. And it's been working for myself, throughout the years. And there's also this other one I like to share is that like when it comes to your diet, there's all these types of crash diets and stuff that I see people share, or like when they talk about keto diet or they want to try this or that diet. I'm not like really knocking those diets, but those are meant to like bring you extreme results fast. But when you go back to your old habits, the weight comes back, or it's hard to maintain after a while. Some of them even have like health risks to them if you continue on with them. So like for me, I don't try to promote like any special type of diet. It's just what I like to say about that is just eat more of the good and less of the bad. That's my advice to that. For eating, for fitness, and during COVID times, I know it's hard because gyms are closed and stuff like that. But you have to try to adapt. Make a space in your home. You don't need a whole lot of equipment. There's lots of body weight exercises online. There's videos, there's tutorials everywhere. There's all kinds of knowledge out there. You could it's right at your fingertips. Like you can Google home workouts. You can Google all kinds of things like that today. So, and like I said, I'm talking like from the city, and when you have like Wi-Fi, access to Wi-Fi and stuff like that, I can't really speak to, you know, when people live on reserve and they don't have access to that kind of knowledge. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share about that. Some other tips I had were for me to maintain this fit, healthy lifestyle. What really helps is having other active people around you. I know that's kind of hard if you know, have family that aren't into it or whatever, like even a partner. For me, it's really easy because in my relationship, the person I live with, my boyfriend, and even my daughter are both into being active and all that. So, you know, surrounding yourself with people who support you. And then it's kind of hard to like meet other people who are all about that fit life, right? The gyms are closed and whatever else, but having people that support you, and like I said, living with people who have the same type of goals, those things make it easier for your own fitness and health journey. And yeah, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Yeah, I think that's all I pretty much had.
Thank you, Kelley. I tried my best to write miigwech. I hope I wrote it properly.
Yeah, it's good.
It'll do. Miigwech, Kelley, thanks to your mom, Kimmy James, and Bernadette, and a lot of the aspiring or prominent Indigenous leaders in your community and that have influenced you, have also influenced me to try to learn the Anishinabe language. So that's my attempt.
Ekose, is that right?
Yes.
You did? Well, my daughter's half Cree. I used to shack up. I used to shack up in Cree territory. Just kidding.
That might be another show, Kelley. That might be another show. So thank you, miigwech nanaskamon hi for joining us here today.
Alrighty, miigwech. See you.
So this is Sikonachak, Spring Spirit Nation. Had a great discussion today with Kelley Chinchilla, MMA athlete, educator, beautiful person, inside out, very real, and yeah, amazing show. See ya, Kimmy James. Just deadly.